British journalist Owen Jones, who has been a vocal critic of Israel's operations in Gaza, is in the middle of a furore, and it's not really of his own making. Critics cited a clip from his recent appearance on Piers Uncensored, which they cast as him defending Hamas. But a fuller clip tells a very different story. Let's watch.
If I had said to you, in 2023, 240 Palestinians had been killed that year by the Israeli state, including 40 children, what else was Hamas supposed to do on the 7th of October? What would you say?
Are you justified?
No, that's the point. I'm saying you would say correctly, there was never any excuse for war crimes. This is an outrageous question for you to respond. From the very beginning, Israeli leaders and officials made clear they were going to commit a genocide. They made clear they saw no distinction between civilians and people.
Now, here was Piers Morgan responding to Owen Jones' remarks.
But responding to a terror attack isn't a war crime. What has happened in the last few months to me has now crossed the line between legitimate self-defence to the worst terror attack of modern times against the Jewish people, has gone now past that into, and clearly from what people like Smotrich is saying, has gone into a plan, it seems to me, by the government to cleanse Gaza of Palestinians, which is a war crime.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump hosted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Monday. The two leaders discussed working toward reaching a ceasefire agreement with Hamas and indicated some progress on an unpopular effort to relocate Palestinians out of Gaza. Here's Netanyahu speaking to reporters. Let's watch.
People want to stay, they can stay. But if they want to leave, they should be able to leave. It shouldn't be a prison. It should be an open place and give people a free choice. We're working with the United States very closely about finding countries that will seek to realize what they always say, that they want to give the Palestinians a better future.
Netanyahu also said he had sent a letter to the Nobel Prize Committee to nominate President Donald Trump for the Peace Prize. All right, lots of elements of this to discuss. Let's briefly touch on Owen Jones. Yeah, I saw the shorter clip, and it was a little bit misleading. And now that I've seen the content, I thought he was endorsing the view that, well, the Palestinians had, the Hamas had nothing to do but respond in the way they did, given the atrocities against them. And then I would have said, well, then that just leads to the Israelis say the same thing. But that was exactly the point he was making.
It was. He was making the point that it is not, you can't commit war crimes and say some other injustice preceding that done to you justifies them. And the clip was very misleadingly edited, because even before what we just played, the literal quote from him is, "You would find this question offensive if I put it to you, if I had said to you," and then the more inflammatory thing that he was saying. So he was very obviously presenting a hypothetical.
Piers has been pretty critical of
what
Israel. Honestly, I rarely say this, but his views on the issue are basically mine exactly. I was, supportive of, supportive is the wrong word, but understanding of Israel retaliating after a terrorist attack and now thinking the government has just gone well beyond is basically my view. Now, in terms of the relocation of Palestinians, we might disagree on this. I think it is... Obviously, they should not be forced out of the Gaza Strip, but if they want to go elsewhere and other countries want to take them, I don't see why that should be disdained particularly.
Well, I don't think that if put like that, it should be disdained, but I think you have to bear in mind the context of this is one in which Netanyahu has repeatedly ruled out a two-state solution, and there are people significantly more extreme than him, and I regard him as pretty extreme, within his cabinet. So you have people like Itamar Ben-Gvir, the National Security Minister, who was convicted in Israeli courts in a previous era of terrorism. Bezalel Smotrich, who's an extreme, by any reasonable yardstick, settler activist. And one of the reasons that this is such a big issue right now is that the Defense Minister, Israel Katz, just within the past 48 hours came up with this, frankly, obscene proposal to corral the Palestinians into some sort of settlement that they couldn't leave on the ruins of Rafah. Something that, to all intents and purposes, is a concentration camp. Really, well, I mean, that's what he's talking about.
That's why I don't want to confine them there. I also don't want to push them out, or I don't want to push them on country. Jordan has taken some Palestinians, doesn't really want to take more. I mean, this is the problem: is that no country, including theoretically supportive or similarly ideologically aligned Islamic countries, don't want to take a large number of refugees, embedded among them a terrorist group. This is the central conundrum here, but their homes have been totally destroyed, been completely wiped out.
Right. So
the humanitarian approach is we have to rebuild it, or we have to find a place for them.
But their homes have been destroyed by the people who are now offering to resettle them. So by definition, they are pushing them out because they have bombed them for 21 months indiscriminately and killed about 57,000 of them. That's the problem.
It's not an improvement to say, okay, we destroyed it. Good luck to you now. It's not really a remain there.
But it's their home, though.
Well, I'm not forcing them out. I'm just, that might be, it's up to them. I don't know what is best for them. If they want to go elsewhere, and importantly, another country wants to take them, which is, again, the piece of this puzzle that will not be resolved because no one does want to take them.
But the primary reason that no one wants to take them is that Arab countries, quite rightly, don't want to be complicit in the destruction of the idea of a Palestinian nation by absorbing them into their own populations.
Don't want to take
the home of the Palestinians is in Palestine. And that is where they have the right to live and to remain and to have self-government. And those are the rights that have been thwarted for them for decades by the respective governments of Israel.
They can stick to, that's fine. They can stick to that attitude and see where it gets them, or we could be a little bit forward thinking, and that would be, I think, best for the people in the region. But
I don't accept that it is forward thinking to just be complicit in the destruction of a people. I don't see how that is forward thinking.
I'm not complicit and I'm not for it, but it's happened. We can't snap our fingers and pretend it didn't happen.
But your argument appears to be that Jordan or Egypt or whomever should take more of them in.
Not that they should, but if they wanted to and the Palestinians wanted to go there, that would be fine. And in fact might be a better situation. Now, if they don't want to take them, and I think the reason they don't want to take them, regardless of what they say publicly, is that they don't want to absorb a poor refugee population that among them is people with a proclivity, some of them, not all of them, obviously, with a proclivity for terrorism. No one wants to absorb that. They worry about the stability of their own governments and their own countries. They won't say that out loud, but that's actually how they feel.
I think the reason that they don't want to take in Palestinian refugees is that they don't think the Palestinians should be made refugees a second time by the destruction of Gaza.
Nobel Peace Prize for Donald Trump. I don't think he should get a Nobel Peace Prize, but Barack Obama, a Nobel Peace Prize for nothing. Absolutely nothing.
We're giving people hope, Robby.
For hope. I found that outrageous, and so by the low standards of Barack Obama getting a Nobel Peace Prize, we should all have one. It should be like the Time Person of the Year 2007 or whatever.
Well, at least now that Netanyahu's nominated him, he'll never get it anyway, so I'm by proxy happy enough. Anyway, next up, Fox's Peter Doocy grills Caroline Levitt over the Epstein memo recently released, with many still outraged about the findings. Stay with us.